Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation. So I'm going to be talking about a study I did for my dissertation project. So for this project I was looking at the relationship between active and passive social media use and emotion regulation in university students. So let's start looking at some statistics. So as you can see here, in 2020, the number of social media users worldwide was close to 3 billion, so almost half the world population. This just shows how social media has become such a big and essential part of our lives nowadays. So it's important to see how this affects our emotions and emotion regulation. So in this study, I looked at active and passive social media use, emotion regulation, and university students. The reason I chose to look at university students is because university students use a lot of social media, and as a lot of people may know, university students are very stressed. They have lots of deadlines, a big workload, etc. And this stress could impact how we regulate our emotions. Okay, so here we have two pictures of active and passive social media use. Many of you have probably heard of these two types of social media use, but active social media use refers to posting photos, messaging people, reaching out to friends and family, maintaining social connections, like commenting and liking people's photos. Passive use, on the other hand, refers to just scrolling through content passively, not liking, not commenting on friends' photos, not messaging people. So it's a very passive type of social media use. And not much research has directly explored how these two types of social media use are related to emotion regulation. So that's why I'm studying it in my project to see if there is a relationship. So emotion regulation has been defined by Gross and John as our ability to manage our emotions effectively to meet the demands of everyday life. Now there are different strategies that people use to regulate or control their emotions. But the two ones that I chose to focus on in this study are cognitive reappraisal and expressive suppression. So cognitive reappraisal is just changing our interpretations of thoughts or emotions about a situation. So, for example, if there's a negative situation, cognitive reappraisal was the ability to maybe change those thoughts and emotions to more positive, whereas expressive suppression refers to like suppressing our emotion response. So yeah, and so why is emotion regulation important? So emotion regulation is strongly linked to mental health. So research suggests that cognitive reappraisal is linked to lower levels of depression, increased positive emotion, and better social relationships. So if people reappraise their emotions more, they have less depression, etc. However, expressive suppression has been negatively linked to mental health, so it has negative effects on emotions, social relationships, and has increased levels of depression. So it's important to study how social media use, different types of social media use impact emotion regulation. So then we can maybe reduce the negative impact of certain types of social media use on mental health, for example. So what is the link between social media use and emotion regulation? So some research has suggested that social media can be a venue for enhancing emotion regulation, so helping people manage their emotions, So from expressing their emotions online, being able to post photos, message friends, express their opinions, their personalities, their emotions. Whereas other research has suggested that social media use can have a negative impact on emotion regulation due to like increased stress and fear of missing out. So the results of the study, we found that active social media use in university students was correlated with less suppression of emotion, whereas passive social media use was correlated with a slight increase in students' ability to alter their interpretations about emotions. So we have the two graphs here for active social media use and passive social media use. And what these results can tell us is that contrary to previous research that suggests passive social, like people shouldn't use social media passively as it has negative impacts on emotion and emotion regulation. That actually passive social media use can have positive effects on emotion regulation as well. So what this tells us is that there may be different types of passive social media activities that may actually have positive impacts on emotion regulation, and we should encourage these. For example, maybe like looking through your own photos, your old memories, your old achievements may be a way to boost self-esteem, create positive emotions that lead to reappraisal rather than suppression. So people should be maybe encouraged to engage in positive passive social media activities, such as reminiscing over old photos rather than scrolling through friends' photos and comparing themselves to others. So yeah, these are the implications of these findings, which are interesting. And yeah, so that's the end of this presentation. I hope it was interesting, and yeah, thank you for listening.